Hey, hi everyone, my name is Sumit and I welcome you all to the race day 9 discussions where we will be discussing the problems to day 9 questions for the PSIR optional. I hope you all are doing the assignments and I hope you all are keeping up with the race, right? You are in the race, right? If you are not, then you should be working very hard. And a couple of students asked me, sir, that we are missing out on targets. It's fine, it's completely fine, but please ensure that we are discussing race 9, so you are somewhere on race 7 or race 8. That does not mean we are discussing race 9 and you are on race 2. There is 2 lag, right? अपने हिसाब से आप adjust कर सकते हो. Someone also said that if you could upload the next day's race in a pre-advanced manner. So see, one thing I would like to tell you that there are a lot of things on my plate. To be very honest, I am taking a full PSIR optional foundational batch. I am taking a complete test series. I am involved with you guys on race, as well as I am teaching on some other platform, polity, as well as international relations and internal security. So I am very much occupied, and to give a good content requires a lot of time. So daily I also create a race and then I send you, and then I also create their solutions. It's not ready made or it's not kept with me, you can say pre-handedly, right? कि बनी बनाई रखी हुई है, बस ऐसे ही forward कर दो. No, I create all this, right? So it takes time. So if anyone is like a working professional and he requires a race a day ahead, what he can do is आप एक दिन का lag कर लो, ठीक है? You, if we are discussing race, let us say 8, you ensure that you are on race 7. So that one and the same thing, right? You all have this science mentality. You can always do this, right? So let us start off with today's discussion. So today's topic is on democracy. Now democracy, it is a very beautiful topic because आपका essay say regarding भी the question can come, right? So please study it very nicely. This is a very good fodder point for essay, right? So please ensure you are well aware. So like democracy, you can always start off with that democracy as a concept, it has always remained at the center of the fierce debate in the political theory, right? And democracy is described as one of the chief or one of the beautiful gifts of modernity, right? And modernity का ये gift है क्योंकि modern times में democracy का हमको देखने को मिलता है. And in similarly, since every political concept is contested, so democracy भी एक काफ़ी ज़्यादा, it is a contested concept. And basically what is the major theme of democracy? The major theme of the democracy is that is a rule. As a government, it is the rule of the people, by the people, and for the people, right? So this is the core theme of the democracy as a concept of political theory or as a concept of government, right? But this was a very conventional definition, that it gives the people to participate in the governance, right? And ultimately it creates, you can say, gives them rights, freedom, equality. But this was a very conventional definition, right? And in times to come, this was, you can say, this was transformed into newer versions, or you can say new form. It was evolved into more modern form of definition, and that was, you can say, democracy as an idea, democracy as a value, democracy as a form of life. All this came to be associated with democracy. And there were some philosophers like John Dewey. He shifted the focus to the idea of democracy, and he said that democracy is more than a form of government. It is primarily a mode of associated living, of conjoint communicated experience, CCE. Now what is conjoint communicated experience? It is like, you can say, government is being formed where people are coming, they are freely expressing their views, they are freely communicating with each other. There is no, you can say, outside external pressure, and that is how they are living. So if you are living in such a free manner, and if the political organization is formed in such a manner, that is democracy. So if you don't want to write this tough definition, associated living of CCE, conjoint communicated experiences, then just write John Dewey defines democracy as a process where majority is formed through a free communication and free association between the citizens, right? So you can just quote this. And if you quote this, I think the examiner will definitely give you some extra marks, right? So quote this as an idea about free living, about dignity. Democracy is attached to dignity of the individual, right? Amartya Sen says this, right? Similarly, you can say this process, the democracy as a process brings out the conflicts into open. They can be discussed, judged, and you know that the biggest problems of our lives are not the ones that which cannot be solved, right? The biggest problems are that we don't want to discuss with other. So if you discuss it, you will realize that it was all in your mind, and this discussion opportunity is given to you by democracy, right? So this you should remember, and that is what he says, that scientific method of inquiry, communication, experimentation before arriving at the conclusion is hallmark of a democratic public living. So ये inquiry, communication, experimentation, ये सब कहाँ possible है? All this is possible in democracy. So for heaven's sake, अब से कभी democracy पे whenever the question is asked, please don't write that bullshit definition. It is a rule of people, by the people, for the people. ठीक है? That is a very बच्चों वाला definition. Write all this: dignity, discussion, debates, free living, free communication, right? ठीक है? Just show that democracy से अच्छा कोई है ही नहीं. ठीक है? समझो? So this should be the main theme of your answer. Like try to use such words, a conjoint communicated experience. ठीक है? Just write. John Dewey says democracy is primarily a mode of associated living of or conjoined communicated experience, CCE. Just, और तुम्हें याद तो है, मतलब तो पता ही है, that it means that the majority is formed through free communication and free association between subsistence. समझो? It is such kind of, you can say, a government. ठीक है? तो done. I think this is clear. Let's move ahead. Similarly, you can quote James Bryce. Now, James Bryce in his work Modern Democracy, kabhi bhi question hai, start off that he calls democracy as the rule of people expressing their sovereign will, and where you can say the power flows from the will of the people. These are the people, right? And इनकी will से power flow कर रही है, right? So this is what is democracy, right? It is a belief in freedom and equality between people, right? It talks about right, liberties, right? And as a system of government, it is based on a belief in which power flows from the will of people, right? Democracy as the rule of people expressing their sovereign will, right? ठीक है? And then you can quote some scholars like Rousseau, Aristotle, like all these you can quote. ठीक है? तो ये यहाँ पे we have discussed this, right? And democracy, deliberative democracy, another very important concept, very important concept. इस पे question पूछे जाने के chances हैं, ठीक है? Because since there is a rise of tyrannies, there is a rise of majoritarianism, तो deliberative democracy का concept आता है. Now see, this as a concept was first time given by Joseph Bassett in the book Deliberative Democracy. So this you should enter it in your notes. And over here he talks that in 1980s there was a decline in the deliberation worldwide, right? And therefore this idea of deliberative democracy gained significance. Actually, if you understand, so deliberative democracy as an idea is as old as the idea of democracy. And in fact, deliberative democracy के बीच में कोई D hyphen का साइन नहीं लगता. That deliberative is separate, democracy is separate. No. There is no need to de-hyphenate the two terms. Deliberation is an inseparable, you can say, part of democracy. जहाँ तुमने democracy बोला, right? As soon as you speak the word democracy, it is understood. It is a hidden word is already attached. That is deliberative democracy, right? But unfortunately, the political leaders have forgotten this, and now they are just interested in democracy. And that has been reduced to the game of numbers, the tyranny of majority, right? And so deliberation is a substantiative aspect of democracy itself. However, over a period of time, deliberative aspect was neglected. It led to rise of game of numbers, tyranny of majority, right? Dictatorship of numbers, Tom, I have remembered like this, gone, right? So please remember this. And there are many thinkers who support the concept of deliberative democracy, right? And this basically deliberative democracy as a concept emerged against the idea of aggregate democracy, which was given by Bentham, greatest happiness of greatest number, right? So that led to majoritarianism, and that led to, you can say, utilitarianism, individualism, pleasure of one, right? And deliberative democracy led to, you can say, the formation of law, policies, etc., emerging out of a rational dialogue. So that is what is the main idea of deliberative democracy. Now, if you believe in the thinkers, if you talk about thinkers, so Aristotle, we have all studied. He says that, what does Aristotle says, that ordinary men, okay, using their common sense can or deliberate, using their deliberation and common sense can generate, can legislate much better law than the you can say wisdom of the philosopher king, right? So ordinary people deliberating can arrive at a better decision than expert acting alone. Similarly, Rousseau, he talks about general will, which can only be developed when people go for active deliberation. You can talk about the general will of the India, that is the Indian constitution. It was heavily discussed and debated, सालों साल तक debates चली in the Constituent Assembly, right? And then came the sacred document called as the Constitution of India. And see, it is so strong, and in 75 years, आज तक एक बार भी Constitution hasn't been failed, in the sense broken down, just like it happened in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the democracy in India is surviving, right? And it is becoming more and more deepened with times to come. So why? Because that was the process of very active, very deep discussions, very deep deliberations, right? And similarly, you can talk about social liberals like Amartya Sen. He gave the concept of public reasoning, where policies to be made after public debate, right? You can talk about Rawls, who talks about overlapping consensus, right? When he tries to explain his concept of justice as fairness, right? So ये सारी चीजें you can always quote. Let's move ahead. You can talk about Indian thinkers like Gandhi ji, like M.N. Roy's radical democracy, Gandhi ji's concept of panchayati raj, J.P. Narayan's partyless democracy, right? ये सब क्या है? Participative governance की बात करते हैं, right? And similarly, Habermas, he talks about a public sphere and communicative action, right? तो जब भी आंसर को लिखें, please ensure these keywords: public sphere, communicative action, right? Gandhiji's Panchayati Raj, M.N. Roy's radical democracy, just comma, comma, comma. If you write all this, examiner will straight away know you know things. And if you write other things, you beat about the bush, then you are wasting your time, energy, as well as you are irritating the examiner. So don't irritate the examiner. Write to the point. ठीक है? And keywords में if you are writing, so see कितना है? Gandhi's concept of Panchayati Raj, 3 words. M.N. Roy's radical democracy, again 3-4 words. ठीक है? J.P. Narayan particle democracy, बस. ठीक है? Habermas sphere, public sphere and communicative action, बस. So see, you have a lot of scholar, 1, 2, 3, 4, and as well as you are writing their main concepts. Don't need to explain anything. Examiner knows things, right? Okay, done. Let's move ahead. Same way, David Held talked about at a level of, he talked about at international level. Now at international level, there is a widespread protest against the globalization, right? And the widespread inequalities that has led to a lot of protest against the globalization, and there is a phenomenon, there is a decline in the liberalism, right? There is a decline in the multilateralism, and therefore these multilateral institutions are failing. Therefore, David Held came up with a cosmopolitan model of democracy, and he talked about strengthening the grassroots democracy to address the democratic deficit in the global governance. Global governance किसमें? वही IMF, UN, World Bank, इन सब में who is dominating? Just few countries are dominating. So he says that we need to bring in more and more for them to be effective. We need to make them more democratic, right? And let other countries, let the lower, or you can say the undeveloped countries also have a particular say in it. So he talks about the cosmopolitan model of democracy, right? So this we have discussed deliberative democracy पे. Conclusion कभी भी आए, so you can quote that it is one of the best way to check the coercive nature of the formal authority. It is associated with multicultural societies, right? Best way to accommodate diversity, best way to ensure that there is peace, toleration, and blah blah blah. You can all write that. But one of the challenge with deliberative democracy is the modern day society. Like it is so much complex. ठीक है? वो ये कहते हैं ना, you cannot be a jar of box. ठीक है? jar of chocolates नहीं हो सकते. ठीक है? You cannot be sweet. You cannot please everyone, right? कहीं ना कहीं in modern times it is so much complex. तो लड़ाई तो होगी. But let's try to please as much as possible, right? ठीक है? गाली तो तब भी आपको खानी है. If you become the Prime Minister of India, you will still get good bashing, right? but still you have to try to take as many people as possible, right? So this is what we have discussed, right? So this remains a very, very complex challenge, that how can you actually implement the deliberative democracy, right? So this is done. Now another someone had asked me about roles का justice as a fairness पे, if you want किसी को इसमें थोड़ा सा दिक्कत था. So see how the roles introduces is difference principle. तो ये वाला point याद रखिएगा. See, according to roles, justice is fairness, right? Now see, if equality of opportunity as advocated by liberals want equality of opportunity, is not fair to the least advantaged, right? Because equality of opportunity will support merit, तो merit वाला तो जीत जाएगा. Similarly, socialist concept of equality of outcomes is, as advocated by socialists, is unfair to those who are talented, that is liberals or merit. Thus Rawls tries to intermediate between these two concepts, कि भाई एक तरफ है मेरे पास equality of opportunity एंड एक तरफ है मेरे पास इक्वालिटी ऑफ लेट अस से आउटकम्स, OUT लिखते हैं, ठीक है. अब इफ आई गो ऑन दिस साइड इट विल बी अनफेयर टू दिस, इफ आई गो ऑन दिस साइड इट विल बी अनफेयर टू दिस. क्या करूं मैं, ठीक है, समझो. सो Rawls सजेस्ट अ डिफरेंस प्रिंसिपल, राइट, फॉर द ग्रेटेस्ट बेनिफिट ऑफ द लीस्ट एडवांटेज मेंबर्स ऑफ द सोसाइटी. सो he not only provides just equality of opportunity, but he provides a fair equality of opportunity. कि ठीक है, लेट एवरी वन बी गिवन इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी, बट ऑब्वियसली बात है कुछ लोग पीछे होंगे, तो उनको हम लोग वी कैन गो फॉर रिजर्वेशन, वी कैन गो फॉर एफर्मेटिव एक्शन, राइट. एंड दैट इज वाई ही ब्रिंग्स द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डिफरेंस प्रिंसिपल. रिमेंबर दिस. सो रॉल्स फेवर्स व्हाट, इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी, इक्वालिटी ऑफ आउटकम्स और फेयर इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी. ही गोज फॉर क्या, fair equality of opportunity, and that is why he says justice as fairness, fair to all. If you have merit, fine. If you don't, the state is there for you, right? So that is what he meant. So please remember this. And same you can give a read on the affirmative action also, right? And this I have given a good introduction to affirmative action. If you want to write an answer on affirmative action, तो ये introduction भी काफ़ी अच्छा सूट किया जा सकता है. That affirmative action invokes the idea of fairness towards the disadvantaged group. वही बात क्या, वही बात difference principle, right? And it is a formal effort to provide increased employment, educational opportunity for the unrepresented, or you can say the disadvantaged sections, right? And it seeks to overcome the past difference, the past pattern of discrimination, the present structural inequalities, right? The idea of bad luck, ठीक है, उन सबको ये compensate करने की कोशिश करता है, right? And however, like all political theories, it remains a deeply contested concept. समझो, हर एक political science के आंसर में कहीं ना कहीं तुम्हें घुमा के deeply contested concept तो लिखना ही है, समझो, बिकॉज तुम्हें स्कॉलर के व्यूज बताने हैं, राइट. अब इसमें डीपली कंटेस्टेड कॉन्सेप्ट है, दैट मीन्स पॉजिटिव भी होगा एंड दैट मीन्स देयर विल ऑल्सो बी नेगेटिव, राइट. सो यू हैव टू राइट बोथ, राइट. एंड इफ यू सी even in India, it is a contested concept as well as in USA if you see the racial quotas in USA, right. However, justice, you can also conclude with this, right, कि सिर्फ रिजर्वेशन से काम नहीं होगा. as US President Lyndon Johnson rightly said, it is not enough just to open the gates of opportunity, ठीक है, right. all the citizens must have the ability to walk through these gates, right. तो gates को चलने की क्षमता भी आपको इनको सिखानी पड़ेगी. सिर्फ you haven't opened the opportunity, that is why you require something called as affirmative action वगैरह, where you actually allow them to develop, right. So you can say they must have the ability to walk through the gates. So this I think we have done on discussion on democracy. Let's start off with the question. Let's first begin, चलो यही वाला क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. Write a short notes on 4 major theories of democracy. अब भाई टाइप्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी में नहीं लिखना था, स्टूडेंट्स वुड हैव बीन कंफ्यूज, दे वुड हैव बीन रिटन अबाउट पार्टिसिपेटिव, रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, वो टाइप्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी होता है, ठीक है. थ्योरीज ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी लिखना था, राइट. सो हाउ कुड यू इंट्रोड्यूस फर्स्ट राइट भाई दैट डेमोक्रेसी हैज़ बीन वन ऑफ द कैरेक्टर्स इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ मॉडर्निटी, राइट. And it was the result of a complex, intertwined process of ideological, social, political, economic evolution और political economic battle. बहुत तगड़ा battle चला ideas का and social clash of economies, clash of what not, right. And that what led to the evolution of that what led to the evolution of what democracy. And then write that the core theme of democracy as a concept of political theory is the rule of people by the people or the for the people, or you can say as a form of government, it ensures that the power flows from the will of the people. However, despite being a central concept, the democratic tradition does not advance a single or unanimous idea of this popular will or popular rule. And there are n number of theories, or you can say there are number of theories on models of democracy offering its own version of the popular rule, right? So you can simply write, however, democracy itself is a contested concept. Despite being a central concept, it is highly contested, and there are various theories of you can say democracy. And then start off it. The first theory is democracy as a protective democracy. Now, what is a protective democracy? This is basically propagated by liberal scholars like J.S. Mill. They say that democracy involves a lot of rights, protecting the liberties of the people, right? Protecting the rights of the individual, right? And state का जितना minimum role हो उतना अच्छा है. Let there be absolute freedom to the people, right? Let there be free market, right? And let the people decide, right? इस type की बात करते हैं. So it emphasizes on the you can say individual liberty, life, property, right? Locke वगैरह जो propagate करते हैं, right? And it encourages strict adherence to the principle of separation of powers. ठीक है? Protected democracy aims at giving citizens widest possible scope to live their lives, right? इस type का काफ़ी freedom की बात करता है. Then comes you can say second model is the pluralistic theory. ठीक है? और second model is यहाँ पे लिखो developmental theory. पहले development को समझ लो इसके बाद. Now developmental aspect is talking about from individual. जैसे अभी हमने ऊपर डिस्कस किया था, प्रोटेक्टिव में इंडिविजुअल था, राइट? फ्रॉम दैट वी शिफ्ट टू सोसाइटी. दैट मीन्स वेलफेयर स्टेट. Yes, so basically it talks about state doing developmental activities, state involving the development of the individual, the development of society, right? And citizens are engaged in civic issues, they are focused on what is best for the society as a whole, and democracy is concerned to the morality, to the development, right? So इस type से democracy as a developmental value, right? Citizens are actively involved in the government, they acquire the understanding and appreciation of what is needed to improve the services and the communities, and पूरी society का एक development हो रहा है. So democracy as a tool for development, right? So this is what is second model. Then comes the third concept. Third concept is called as the pluralistic theory of democracy. Now over here it is believed that democracy or power should be dispersed among a variety of specialized group. Often you can say special in these so-called pressure groups, political parties, right? And they believe citizens are disinterested in becoming involved, right? And जो भी इन्वॉल्व होना चाहते हैं तो दे आर मच मोर हैप्पी थ्रू स्मॉलर पॉलिटिकल ग्रुप्स. तो अल्टीमेटली पावर रिमेन्स इन द हैंड्स ऑफ दीज स्मॉलर पॉलिटिकल ग्रुप्स एंड द पीपल आर नॉट मच इंटरेस्टेड. एंड स्पेशल इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप्स दे प्ले एन इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल एंड जॉकी फॉर द पावर इन एरियाज रिलेटेड टू स्पेसिफिक इशूज एंड वैल्यूज. तो इनके हाथ में पावर होती है, राइट? प्लूरल डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स के हाथ में बटी होती है, राइट? एंड देन टॉक अबाउट द पार्टिसिपेटरी मॉडल. The participatory model talks about in 1960 it emerges, right? वही वाला deliberative वगैरह वाला, ठीक है? And it tries to it focuses on retooling the government to encourage more citizen involvement. And this time there was a lot of student activism going on, especially in US due to Vietnam War, civil rights violations, right? So it provided an opportunity for engagement, and that is where again the idea of participatory democracy, deliberative democracy rises. Right, the main idea of this theory is to provide more involvement and control of the governmental laws and the you can say governmental rules, ठीक है, pertaining to the American citizens, right? तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों का involvement is the aspect of participatory. So remember, one is the protective democracy, then is the developmental democracy, then is the pluralistic democracy, and then is the participative democracy. So PDPP. Always remember these four models, right? And इसी पार्टिसिपेटिव डेमोक्रेसी को ही यू कैन लिंक इट टू डेलिब्रेटिव डेमोक्रेसी और डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी वगैरह वगैरह, ठीक है? ये ध्यान रखना है. एंड प्लूरलिस्टिक डेमोक्रेसी को ही यू कैन लिंक इट टू रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी. तो कुछ स्टूडेंट्स अगर कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं, राइट? बट ऐसे आपको लिखना है, ठीक है? हाउ डेमोक्रेसी इज एन एक्टिव टूल टू प्रोटेक्ट लिबर्टीज, हाउ डेमोक्रेसी इज एन एक्टिव टूल टू इंश्योर डेवलपमेंट, हाउ डेमोक्रेसी इज एज अ पावर रिमेन्स इन द हैंड्स ऑफ फ्यू, हाउ डेमोक्रेसी एज अ पावर रिमेन्स इन द हैंड्स ऑफ मेनी. तो इस तरीके से डिफरेंट मॉडल्स पे बात आपको करनी थी, ठीक है? डन. एंड राइट. तो इस तरीके से आप इसको लिख सकते हो. नेक्स्ट डिस्कस द रिलेशन बिटवीन डेवलपमेंट एंड डेमोक्रेसी. ये भी एक प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन है, ठीक है. एंड सो फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट, कभी भी देखो इस टाइप का रिलेशनशिप आए तो यू नो दैट कि एक रिलेशन तो होगा नहीं, ऑब्वियस ही बात है भाई, मल्टीपल है, पॉलिटिकल साइंस है. तो स्टार्टिंग में लिख दो इट इज़ अ कंटेस्टेड कंसेप्ट या इट इज़ अ हाईली कॉन्ट्रोवर्शियल इशू, ठीक है. इस टाइप से यू कैन ऑलवेज स्टार्ट. So the underlying link between democracy and development is a controversial issue, right? And for the most of the 20th century, the conventional wisdom was that tyrannies or autocracies, they are better able to marshal the resources necessary to promote economic development, and hence people preferred, you can say the conventional wisdom was that in promoting development, the autocracies they perform better. Right, and it was also believed that to bring in democracy, actually realize it on ground, you require certain kind of economic development. Economic development पहले हो रखा होगा तो democracy in the political area can be realized easily. This was thought, right? And because of the people will be rich, तो फिर वो क्या होगा, एजुकेशन वगैरह आ जाएगा तो सिविक सेंस वगैरह आ सकता है ना, राइट? एंड व्हेन द सिविक सेंस एक्सेट्रा हैज कम, then if you want to basically bring the political model, right, then it will be good, right? However, after post cold war period, this you can say conventional view was challenged, right? And how this was challenged, so then अब हमें यहाँ पे वो बताना है डेवलपमेंट एंड डेमोक्रेसी का डिबेट, लीकॉन यू वर्सेस अमर्त्य सेन. बट उससे पहले tell development, what is democracy, right? What is development, right? So tell about democracy that it can be understood as a form of government where the power flows to the will of the people, right? And the ultimate authority lies with the people, right? And public policy is made with a lot of deliberation, discussion, taking into everyone into account. And अब development को कैसे define कर सकते हो? Development could be identified as a process in which any system or institution is transformed into much more stronger, much more organized, much more efficient, right, much more effective, so that it performs very well. It proves to be more satisfying to the terms of, you can say to the terms of human wants and aspirations, right? तो किसी भी institution को और अच्छा, किसी भी process को, किसी भी system को और अच्छा, efficient, effective, ठीक है, आप कह सकते हो stronger, organized, all this if you are making it, you are ensuring development. And why are you doing this? Because I want to ensure that that institution performs at its optimum level, right? And so that it can satisfy more and more people, more and more aspirations, more and more human wants, right? That is what is the aim, right? And now tell about Lee Kuan Yew, right? Tell about Lee Kuan Yew, ठीक है, over here. So Lee Kuan Yew says that democracy, according to Lee Kuan Yew, is not conducive for development. Why? As it slows the decision making process, right? There is a lack of social discipline, right? You can say there are presence of a lot of political factions, you can say political instability, instability, and as a result the developmental policies cannot be implemented, right? And also democracy, according to Lee Kuan Yew, doesn't go along with the Asian values, which talks about solidarity, discipline, right? So this is not what democracy promotes. It promotes instability, it promotes indiscipline, right? And that is why he says that people are least concerned with liberty for the sake of social stability and prosperity. That is what is being taught in East, right? Collectivism, ठीक है, holism, ठीक है, तो society का benefit. So they are not interested in individual liberty, right? And then you can say, you can counter Amartya Sen using Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen says that he counters Lee Kuan Yew and he says that democracy and development are interdependent, right? They are intertwined and there can't be development without democracy, right? And even the process of development also needs to be democratized, right? He says that both are dependent upon each other. And how? So only when people participate through democracy, then only we will get to know what is their wants, what are their ideas, क्या चाहिए उनको. And that is when you can say through the democratic model, when there is more of accountability and transparency of the government, right? So people can tell, people can express themselves, and then you can say using the democracy, ठीक है, development can take place in the right direction. And that is why he says that problems of inequitable growth, right, inequalities, poverty, why are these rising? Because the development which is being done in by these tyrannies, or you can say by the majoritarian governments, they are no, very very undemocratic, right? ठीक है, inequalities बढ़ती ही जा रही है. अब मोनार्की है अगर आपके यहाँ में, तो just few people are being developed, right? ठीक है, on the cost of many. So that is why he says that democracy. So this is what democracy can do, right? It can help you address the problems of inequitable growth, unaccountability of the government, right, corruption, etc. So it is through democratic process we can go for it, right? And also he says that democracy has intrinsic and instrumental value. It talks about it upholds the dignity of the individual, right? And it talks about development of the individual so that individual can fully realize his own potential. तो ये सारे पॉइंट्स भी यू कैन राइट ओवर हियर. एंड देन यू कैन ऑल्सो कोट अबाउट जॉन डेवी, जो हमने ऊपर पढ़ा था, that democracy as a process where majority is formed through free communication, free association between citizens, so that they can talk, they can share their ideas, they can freely express their will, right? ये सब possible कहाँ है? This freedom to express their will is possible in democracy, right? And then you can conclude that development itself is a multidimensional concept, and data shows that democracies have not only performed better economically but have also outparred, you can say outspaced, autocracies in social and welfare dimensions of development. ठीक है, like childbirth, literacy, child mortality, etc. And among the worst performing countries in economic as well as social indicators are the autocracies, right? And hence the traditional understanding between the democracy and development, it remains a heavily contested one. Traditional understanding क्या थी? That autocracies or monarchies, they perform better when it comes to developmental activities as compared to democracies. ठीक है, and this was however challenged in the post Cold War era. And आज के ज़माने में भी if you can see that in world most of the countries, right, more than 90% of the countries are democratic, right? Even China, if you see, in terms of economic, it is very very, you can say, democratic, right? ठीक है, no doubt in terms of political it's not, but in terms of economic it's a free market. So people are adopting the values of liberalism, people are adopting the values of individual freedom in terms of economics. ठीक है, आज economics में, कल politics में भी होंगे वो. So anyhow we discussed the entire race. Number कौन सा था? 9. So thank you so much guys. I hope you all are running in the race and keep running. चलिए, see you in the next race. Till then, bye bye.